a kick wide right from rookie kicker Tyler Loop that determined where the Texans will be playing their playoff football game this coming, I say weekend. Does Monday count as part of the weekend? Because, by God, the Texans are not playing a Saturday 3:30 game in the wild card round.
It's a football miracle. It's a late Christmas miracle. For the first time in history, they won't be in that Saturday 3:30 p.m. slot.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah. So Monday Night Football, which I got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with some of you out there. The level of trepidation I saw from people, like, oh no, it's Monday night. It's on Pittsburgh's. Mike Tomlin is undefeated at home on Monday night. You know what? Mike Tomlin is also he's also awful in the first round of the playoffs.
He's winless in the playoffs since 2016.
Yeah.
I choose to believe the ethos is going to be more about the postseason than about it being on a particular night of the week.
Right.
Yeah.
Why are all you Monday worshipers just bowing down at the whatever about Monday night?
No.
This is, I'll say, I think it's also, since the Texans, it became very clear at halftime, or after halftime, that the Texans were going to go in and play for the division title if there was a chance of winning the division title. The Jaguars were up as drastically as they were on the Titans. They said, all right, we're not going to worry about the seeding. We're cool with losing this game. There was a very good chance. If they had lost that game, they would have been playing in Jacksonville next week.
Right.
I like the matchup of the Texans versus the Steelers on the road more than I like the matchup of the Texans versus the Jaguars on the road.
Regardless of the day of the week the game gets played on.
Yeah, but I do also like the chances of the Bills beating the Jaguars.
So do the odds makers.
Which would put the Bills in the second round right here at NRG Stadium.
If the Chargers
yeah. That's right. The Chargers have to win.
You need both 6 and 7 to win.
Yeah.
Yep. But the point of all this is that the Texans did win yesterday. DeMeco took a chance on resting a bunch of guys in the second. Well, 2 of his best players he rested the entire game. Nico Collins, Kamari Lassiter did not play. I thought you and I were talking about this with Lopez right before halftime as the Texans were kicking a field goal to go up by 6 at halftime, and Lopez said, I think he's going to sit all these guys in the second half. And I was of mine, like, no, you need to win this game. There's a difference between the 5 and the 6 seed. You know, like I know obviously there's a difference. One's 5, one's 6. There's a difference in how this plays out. You know, if the teams we think could win, blah, blah, blah. I just think to me, I was like, no, you need to keep playing. You need to win this game. And DeMeco didn't feel that way. And I don't say DeMeco didn't feel like he didn't need to win the game, but there's probably a big part of DeMeco. I said this on the postgame show that felt like, you know what? I think we can still win this game playing these guys against a rookie.
So that ultimately in the playoffs, health is of paramount importance. And I've gone back and forth on this myself. I mean, you're out there and you see one of the big reasons that it's a close game at all is because you don't have Kamari Lassiter in there.
Yeah.
So what's it look like if you lose another couple starters and then you got to play in the first round of the playoffs on the road? That's tough. It was very, very clear that whether it's Tremont Smith or Kayvon Wallace and the communication errors that they had, Kayvon Wallace is gonna likely be the starter at safety next week, and he did not have a great game. Did some nice things, but also did some very concerning things. But hopefully, with Kamari Lassiter back, it's a much different story.
Well, and especially too, Seth, after watching every minute, every snap of that Steelers-Ravens game last night.
Yeah.
And it felt like a guy was getting peeled off the field every 5 plays. I know it wasn't that way, but especially on the Ravens side of things.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle Hamilton, that was a game-changing injury in that game. For those who didn't see it, Kyle Hamilton got hit with some friendly fire from Alohi Gilman, the other safety out there, and got concussed, got knocked out of the game. That changed the game. The Steelers couldn't attack downfield at all with Kyle Hamilton in the game, couldn't do anything around the line of scrimmage. He was one of the best players, if not the best player on the field, and he gets knocked out with a concussion, and now all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers is attacking downfield. He looks like the old Aaron Rodgers on certain plays.
Tell you what, the hidden keys to the game with the Texans really is the Alec Pierce getting ejected for God knows what reason, really. Incidental. Really, when you go back and watch it, the official walked into Alec Pierce.
Yeah.
I mean, Alec Pierce was like a defensive back that got flagged for for an offensive lineman running into his territory. That was one of the most ticky-tack ejections I've ever seen for contact with an official.
I was okay with it.
I was okay with it, too. I'm not going to have a big op-ed. I'm not writing an op-ed in the Chronicle about it today.
I'm a Texan fan. I was fine with it.
But, I mean, look, the Texans' defense in the fourth quarter there were times where they had 7 defensive backs on the field.
Yeah.
In non-passing situations. That was their base defense.
They had E.J. Speed play in the Will Anderson position.
Yeah, they had E.J. Speed as an edge rusher. They had, as a defensive end, not just an edge rusher, but as a defensive end. You had 2 cornerbacks playing the Mike and Will linebacker positions.
Damone Clark.
Again, this wasn't like a dime situation.
No.
This was just their base defense.
It was crazy. And they managed to find a way while scoring 9 offensive points, while kicking 3 field goals in the second half.
Yeah.
They didn't score any offensive points in the second half. The only touchdown they got in the second half was the one that you heard coming into the show by Tommy Togiai. Let's hear from DeMeco Ryans. He was, after the game, understandably thankful to finish the season on a high note.
First off, just as always for me, like what an awesome game. But it's all glory and praise goes to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Just thankful for such a incredible regular season. Our guys were able to accomplish a lot of great things, no matter how dim it looked to start the season. Just proud of our guys. Every single week, finding a way to win games and to now, finish on a high note, winning here versus a really good team. Really proud of our guys.
And they finished with the 5 seed because, as Seth pointed out, Jacksonville destroyed the Titans. That would have been interesting if Cam Ward hadn't gotten hurt in that game. He got hurt actually running into the end zone to take a 7-0 lead in that game, and had a Jaguar land on him. He was out for the rest of the game. Jags scored 41 unanswered. It may have ended the same sort of way with the Titans scoring 21 instead of just 7. The Jags look really, really good right now. The Texans tie a franchise record for wins in a season with 12. They tie the franchise record for longest winning streak. Yeah. Texans, okay. Yes. Tying the franchise record for the longest winning streak at 9. They break the record for point differential in a season because of the Togiai touchdown.
Yeah, Tommy.
If Togiai had not scored that touchdown, they would have tied the point differential record. They would have tied everything. They would have tied the point differential record in a season 2 at plus 103. Instead, plus 109.
Plus, I know a lot of people out there were excited because the in-game spread had gone down to Texans by 7.5.
Yep.
So that Tommy Togiai touchdown put a lot of Texans fans, and also, there's some people who are upset about this, obviously, on the other side of it, too. But for the Texans fans who liked that 7.5-point spread and bet on the Texans in-game, Tommy Togiai made him some money yesterday.
I texted a buddy of mine when you could tell that the Colts were going to do the Stanford band play, you know, the laterals. I'm like, man, this is how point spreads get covered right here. Like weird things like that, and that's exactly what happened.
It's the biggest concern defensively, really, is just that they blew that play to Alec Pierce right off the bat.
They give up a lot of big chunk plays to a guy who's not a polished passer.
Yeah. Well, it was everything that I was worried about going into the game. It's Alec Pierce versus replacement secondary, but it was only one replacement player there at the beginning of the game. It was Tremon Smith.
Right.
But some of the chunk plays to Alec Pierce, and then Riley Leonard with his legs tested the discipline of the defense. And there were times when the starters were in that I really wasn't happy with the Texans' discipline versus the QB option game and the RPOs and everything else like that. If they'd been facing Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, that would have been a bigger concern. Yeah. Not as big a concern versus Aaron Rodgers.
We'll talk about that.
Although Aaron did run for a first down.
He did. Well, the first time he tried to scramble to the right, and he just stopped.
Yeah, he also got sacked a lot, but he did run for a first down.
He did run for a first down. We'll talk about that Steelers-Ravens game in the next segment. That was some crazy stuff. Here was DeMeco Ryans talking about the decisions to prioritize health in this game after the Jags had taken a big lead against Tennessee, and you knew the division was probably out of reach.
Of course, I saw the score of the game, and Jacksonville was up, so we got a few guys out. I guess, and that's the whole thing about, everybody's talking about resting starters. It's hard to take everybody out. You only get 48 guys to go play on game day, so it's hard to take everybody out. But when we saw, where they were up at a pretty big lead, so pulled out selected guys when I could.
Yeah, you nailed it. He didn't care about the 5 seed or the 6 seed.
Yeah,
he cared about the division. I disagreed with the I still disagree with the strategy, and I know it worked. They won the game, but they needed every break, including, as you said, an official kicking out the guy who had been by far the most potent player for the Colts that day.
It ended up working out, and I don't want to take credit away from them for winning the game, but it was way dicier than it would have been.
It's a huge risk.
And it does. The seeding matters. Yeah. You know, if you want to make a run, there's a realistic chance for a home game or 2 home games if you make it to the championship game because of the parity in the NFL or the parity in the AFC this year.
The Bills and the Chargers are very strong 6 and 7 seeds.
The Bills are favored in Jacksonville.
Yep.
The Chargers, I don't know what the spread is
3.5.
on that game. 3.5.
Patriots 3.5.
Patriots by 3.5.
Yep.
It's very conceivable that both those teams could win. So in making an actual run, not just winning a wild card game, which you've done multiple times, the seeding, it ended up working out. But taking that, it worked out. But the DeMeco Ryans had conceded that, okay, we're cool with losing this game.
Yes.
You know, we're cool with losing this game. But, okay, hey, great, we won.
Yep.
But I can't give you credit for being cool with losing the game.
No, it's like a play that works, but you disagree with the play call.
Yeah.
Like, I disagree with the play call, but it did work. I can't all of a sudden agree with it. I disagreed with the strategy. It worked. DeMeco comes out smelling like a rose in this whole thing. We should mention, too, the Texans. I don't think we mentioned the Texans' point spread. They're favored in Pittsburgh in this game. I know we mentioned the Tomlin undefeated on Monday nights and all that other stuff. The odds makers, and I think the game opened as a pick'em. So the money immediately went over to the Texans. So whatever the betting community and the football community at large is feeling about the Texans, they are still feeling it right now going into this Monday night game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mm-hmm. So they go in as a 3-point favorite. Now, they did lose the defensive scoring title yesterday.
Yeah, by 0.2 points.
By giving up 30 in that game.
The Seahawks are now, they finished the season as a #1 scoring defense, which
passes the eye test.
Because they played a
Saturday
meaningful game. They played a meaningful game, so they were playing their butts off with their starters. But give them credit, man. You talk about earning it.
They earned it.
They held the 49ers to 0 touchdowns.
Yep.
They played a hell of a game. That is a ferocious defense the Seahawks have.
They did. So how are we feeling now about how are you? We'll talk more about the Steelers-Ravens game in the next segment, but just like from 30,000 feet, as you were watching that game last night unfold, I forget where you wound up.
I wound up wanting to play the Ravens more so than the Steelers because of the physicality of the Steelers defensive front. I don't worry about which offense the Texans are going to face. I will offense in a face.
Okay.
And I think that the Steelers present some more challenges to them than the Ravens defense does just because of the physicality of their defensive line.
Nothing happened in that game last night that changed your mind along the way?
No, and if anything, the one thing that concerns me too is that the Steelers were really effective with some of their disguised blitzes.
Yeah.
Dropping both the edge rushers off into coverage and getting pressure right up the gut.
Yeah.
That's just the type of stuff that this Texans offense dreads.
They also had some big coverage busts in that game too, though, the Steelers did.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the one, let's see, there was a one early touchdown there was a cover 0 blitz, the one to Austin, and that's something that the Texans, they don't exploit those all that well. Yeah. Then they had the coverage bust versus Zay Flowers. Yeah. That was the Steelers are not.
Oh, Walker, you're thinking of Walker.
Okay.
Austin's Terrell Austin's the Steeler guy.
Yeah. Sorry. But then the Zay Flowers touchdowns, the one was they lined up in a really funky formation. And they just blew that completely. That was the one where Zay Flowers was just wide open.
That was the second one.
Yeah.
It was the second one. The first one was the one that
got past Jalen Ramsey, right?
He got past. I don't know if it was past Jalen Ramsey, but that was the one where Lamar Jackson had the escape.
Oh, yeah.
Almost the Deshaun Watson, two guys running into each other.
Yeah, the pass protection was all flawed, and Lamar Jackson just made a superhuman play.
That's the part that if I were in your shoes, and I was hoping the Texans play the Ravens against the Steelers, that would have been the play where I'm rethinking it. Lamar Jackson does these things where he just makes these Lamar plays.
Yeah, well, that's
and he was throwing the football much better.
What the Ravens do, okay, this would be the flip side of it, because I was back and forth all week on who I wanted to face, and a lot of it was just based on how does Lamar Jackson look. One of the few areas where the Texans aren't one of the best defenses in the league is explosive plays allowed. They're about middle of the pack there. Yeah. The Ravens, really the only thing they've been good at this year offensively is the explosive plays.
Right.
Whereas the Steelers, they are not very explosive whatsoever. They're bottom third of the league in terms of explosive plays on offense. Yeah,
that was like the Freiermuth catch towards the end, and then the touchdown that put them ahead. Very uncharacteristic from that game last night. Everything was played within, a 10-yard box for the Steelers. All right, we're off and running, man. This is exciting. The Texans, we had a text earlier saying, do you guys think the Texans are going to unveil some things they haven't used yet offensively this year? I'm like, no. They got to prove that they can run the regular plays. They tried that yesterday.
Their gadget plays, they end up.
They couldn't hand the ball off to Tommy Togiai yesterday.
Of the few touchdowns the Texans have scored in the red zone this year, officially now at least 2 of them came on botched plays.
Yes,
that's how brilliant the design and execution is down in the red zone.
I don't think that they're sitting on a bunch of plays. They're waiting to ambush the rest of the league.
I mean, immediately when I saw that play, I thought, all right, there's something went wrong on that play, and it was confirmed later by CJ. But that Tommy Togiai was supposed to get the hand. I also immediately thought of that Cardinals play, the inadvertent direct snap to Woody Marks that went in for a touchdown.
Yes,
and you look at the other times. We can also point to the number of times they've been down in scoring position and have either been stonewalled or they've scored, or they've gotten a first down and there was an offsides, there was an illegal formation, there were all those things. They are not a finely tuned operation down in the red zone.
They are not.